Notice, enter at your own risk. Looks ominous, so does this donor car, which seems to make Brandon happy. Why? Because it helped him and the team at Hickman Creations, a very good hot rod shop in Gunner, Texas, finish this 1952 Ford Crestline Victoria. The Ford Crestline models were built between 52 and 54. They were a top trim level vehicle. In 1952, this car would have come with a 239 cubic inch flathead V8 with 110 horsepower and a 3-speed or 4-speed auto or manual transmission. It made close to 85 miles per hour. Top speed, curb weight was around 3,300 pounds. I have links below for this car. Might not have been a car most people would think to rebuild, yet this car was a jewel in the rough. I think this calls for a greater inspection. Welcome to Road Odyssey. Thank you for joining me, and if you like the videos that I provide, please subscribe, and you can join me on Facebook too. Hickman Creations is located in Gunner, Texas. Keith Hickman is the owner and a great body man painter. His brother Brandon also provides many specialty skills. This car was built off and on over the course of several years. I began noticing it back in 2022 when Keith told me this car is going to be a great build. And it was a winner at Startbird. The Hickmans took the Victoria to the 2024 Darrell Startbird Rod and Custom Show, an extremely large show with notoriety. Be sure to follow the link below or look up their website and or Facebook page. You will be genuinely amazed. With this car, the Hickmans won the Outstanding Custom Award. Here is a video clip from the show. This 1952 Crestline Victoria has been through several modifications. First, it was a frame-off restoration, which might be obvious. Has shoebox style 51 Ford front end conversion, one-off wheels from Colorado Custom Cycle Wheels, full custom leather interior by Brandon Falls, custom billet steering wheel from Spark Industries, parts and accessories from Shoebox Central, custom paint, Silver Smoke Pearl by Keith Hickman and Jerry Moore. Bodywork from Keith Hickman and Keith Montgomery. They shaved all of the trim, incorporated a 59 Cadillac set of taillights, skull key opening, LT1 with 4L65 transmission, engine work from Brandon Hickman and maybe a few others, Willwood brake system, and utilizing a Art Morrison frame and chassis. Time for a startup. Yes, very quiet by customer request. Looking in the trunk, hidden on the driver's side, is the amplifier. On the passenger side is the battery. Time to go through the build. It began for me in 2021 and 2022. Here's the Art Morrison chassis, and the LT1 mated to the 4L65 trans in 2021. Next, in 2022, it was painted. I really didn't understand the vision behind this car. Therefore, I missed a lot in this early stage of bodywork. I lost track of it until mid-23. In June, I'd made my first video. I had noticed that major body parts had been reassembled, and then by June 23, the exterior and interior had been painted. In this clip underneath, you see the headlights, steering rack installed, and some wiring installed. Below are some parts ready for install as well. I returned another while later, and the sound deadening was being installed. The tall air intake, while very cool, will not be used because it's just too high for the hood. You'll see more wiring, battery in the rear, as well as the main junction will be behind the rear passenger seat. Come August of 23, I got another look around. They had the dash in for measurements and wiring. The trunk cover was tested and the trunk lock tested with that skull key. This was when I first saw the Colorado custom wheels. I returned September of 2023 when things began to move a little bit more quickly. Now, you can see the car was beginning to look like a real show car. So this was fantastic. After moving the car into the interior shop, and what did I see? The donor car. The build car itself was missing lots of specialized bolts, clips, window mechanisms, door latch parts, etc. Brandon Falls had to meticulously go through every nut and bolt and whatever possible to get what was needed for the build car. Very, very tedious, time-consuming work. A quick look at some of the interior getting started here in September. Seats, door panels, dash, headliner, and so forth getting mocked up for enhancements and fitment. Now, back to the donor car for a fun walk around. Remember, the Crestline was a top-tier trim-level car for Ford, later replaced by the Fairlane. The Crestline had a lot of good chrome detail, meaning there are lots of retainer clips needed, window trim and related parts, nuts and bolts everywhere that are special. Giving you a feel for things, here's a table of growing items salvaged, all of which needs to be cleaned and refurbished. A box full of more parts, seat parts, and much more. Cleaned, refurbished, and validated for the new car. Here's Brandon getting door latch parts from the donor. Seriously time-consuming and difficult work that so many people will never truly understand. If anything, please have some strong empathy for the difficult nature of some of this work. As Brandon said, the dirty side of interior work. Of course, some interior people will not go to the bother of doing this. Lastly, at this time, Brandon gave me a sneak peek at what he was going to do for the rear window shelf. In October, it looked like I found them possibly installing the fuel line and some wiring. I'm sure they had worked on plenty of other things that I was unaware of. Sorry, didn't notice anything in November. In December, I saw the radiator, Different air intake, the rear window shelf board wiring, engine work, and preparing the dash. They were beginning to feel the heat in January. Decisions were still being discussed. Brandon Falls was showing me the rear speaker setup and how they were to be installed. The rear shelf and how he was going to not cover the smaller speakers is pretty cool because they were already designed to mix with the color and pattern match of the leather around them. I got my first look at the steering wheel when that came in. Really nice. Again, it was a custom billet steering wheel from Sparks Industries. The car got moved back and forth a lot. Back into interior. A lot of multitasking. Joey, Brandon, Keith Montgomery, and a few others were buzzing around the car like bees on a burning beehive. I could really see the car beginning to come to life. Brandon was working on the rear shelf, getting the main speaker boxes set up for initial install. Joey was up front working on the engine. The AC, dash, steering was all installed. January 24th was a serious day. I made sure I didn't impede the progress. Now, the Startbird car show was to start February the 16th. The car had to be delivered February 14th, Wednesday morning. That's a total of 21 more days left. Well, 3 weeks to complete this magnificent show car. This meant that several tasks were being performed in parallel. In 21 days, several items will be completed. Wiring, interior, engine, underglow, stereo, custom-made parts. Just getting all the body parts installed, the hidden license plate system, and much, much more. All right, I'm following Joey for a few days here. Wiring, and more wiring, like this big junction box that I mentioned before for the battery, speakers, amplifier, and stuff. Here he's testing the left control buttons for the driver. That's just power, accessory power, lights and such. Then he tested out the AC controls. Everything worked fantastic. And then he moved to the air intake, the radiator, hoses, all that kind of good jazz, and just buttoning up everything for the engine, including going ahead and adding all the fluids necessary, transmission, engine, radiator, whatnot. I also followed Keith Montgomery for a little bit. He fabricated and installed the hood latch bracket for the interior and then the cable. Then he made the hood liner and installed the stereo amplifier in the back. All of that work was from January 24th to February 12th. Returning to January 24th, Brandon's interior work increased in pace. He gets the rear speaker cabinets built and test fitted. The rear window shelf has magnets inserted in the cabinet shelf fittings. He added the floor base, support back plate, and trunk front side board for a test fit. Now, Brandon is testing and installing a decorative light for the rear shelf. And here's a look at the idea using the hood ornament. And with the rear shelf test fitted and the ornament light tested again. Now we just left January 24th. Now we're at January 29th. And Brandon and Joey are testing out the underglow and really the lighting all throughout the car. Still January 29th, Brandon is continuing the trunk work. The two sides are basically shaped. Then he began to work on the trunk floor. The trunk floor worked fine, so he started the two rearmost walls. These had to have a curve in them, so he grooved the sections to make them pliable and did the test fit before gluing into place. And yeah, did another test fit after gluing them, and it was perfect. So the next step was to encase the gas filler tube with a partial cone. He made a bottom half ring, then the top half ring, and glued those into place. And another test fit, which was great, and it just looked absolutely beautiful. If you haven't figured it out, these builds get pretty intense. It's now February 5th and 6th through February 12th. The rear window shelf and the speaker system is done. I will not see work like the lower dash get completed, nor the carpet and seats installed. Here, Joey is helping with the seat frames. The full headliner system, visors, and trunk is done. I do watch Brandon on the 5th, 6th, and 12th make the door panels. So using kind of a stretchy fabric, clear epoxy resin that I think came from the fiberglass resin, in Bondo, he molds the door handles. Next, he makes the upper portion of the door panel, and he routers or grooves the wood for fabric creases and buttons, and that's all across the dash and the door panels to match the seating. Okay, then finally, coming up on the 12th, the door panels are virtually done. They're very close. He applies a layer of foam and just lets it mold across all the contours, sands out sharp edges. Lastly, from the clips I was able to get, he sprays glue on the door handle section and the back of the leather, then starts applying the leather to this area of the door, which is where I had to leave. They finished everything, in one more day. Then it was shipped off the 14th on a Wednesday morning to Startbird. Here again is the walk around that I received from the Hickmans showing the car just before the show really got started. And this is February 15th, maybe, give or take. And the show, started the 16th and ended on the 18th. I think it's really fantastic. They won the Outstanding Custom Award for their 52 Ford Victoria at the 60th Annual Darryl Starbird's Rod and Custom Car Show in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Extremely well done. And also congratulations to the owner of the car for really pumping resources into this build. So that's the end of this video. The owner of this car has got a prize. It is going to win multiple shows. I believe it has the capability of that. Also, it is a driving car. The owner can hop into it and just go cruise on and on and on. So this is a real car. It's not just a showpiece that gets trailered. So with that, I hope you appreciate all of this hard work and the reality of a car build. Please relax, take it easy, subscribe and like, give a comment if you wish, and I will see you later. Bye.